FM Corner. I'm Danny Koontz, your host, Director of Relationship for Windy City Equipment. And today my guest is Keith Moore. Keith is the president of US Maintenance and Repair. We've known each other for a really long time. Should be a great conversation today. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, my friend. And you?
I am very well, thank you. Let's kind of kick it off as we usually do. Talk a little bit about career. Kind of how'd you start? What'd you do? How'd you get to where you are?
You know, it's funny because last year we had at conference the gentleman that told us take stock in how you got to where you were and, you know, reflect on those that help you get here. And as I was doing that, after the presentation, it really hit me, the people that really helped me get to where I am today. And I mean, it started when I was still in college working part-time for a construction materials company. And then that led to a job in Chicago for a company that we rep, selling corrugated metal. And that just kept spiraling up. As they say, I kept tripping upwards, I guess. People left that company, and then they called me to go work for an installation company, the manufacturer that they worked for. And ultimately, it led to going to Stowe and working at Stowe for about 5 or 6 years, where I ended up as an area manager for them, traveled quite a bit. And in 1999, it was time to make a change. I'd been traveling a lot. So my wife's bosses were looking for a place to invest some money, and they were looking to start getting into construction. So we went to lunch one day, and they're like, would you be willing to run something? Maybe. I hadn't given it a lot of thought, but I was ready for change. So a few days go by, and I call him back, and I'm like, yeah, I could be interested. And ironically, my boss called me out of nowhere, and he was flying into town, and the company was going to go through a lot of changes, met more travel. And, you know, as him and I sat down, I kind of stopped him mid-sentence, and I said, you know, I think I'm going to go a different path. And literally in the American Airlines lounge at O'Hare Airport, basically resigned and went back to Sonia's bosses. And we had very serious conversations for a couple of days, and they agreed to fund us. And that was how US Exterior started. Was literally on the back of a cocktail napkin. We wrote down the name and everything. And that was in November of 99. So in a few short weeks, we will hit our 25th year.
Right.
And their faith in me that I could do it was awesome. We ended up buying them out in about 3 years, I think. We ended up buying them out. So it became Sonia and I. And that led to, we had a location in Nashville, one in Colorado, and one in Chicago. And then we all know what happened in 08 and 2010. So my partner in Nashville, he bought half the business. And he continued in Nashville. He's still in business today. We work regularly together. And we've got US Exterior Maintenance and Repair. And like I said, we're getting ready to start our 25th year here very shortly. So it's kind of exciting.
Great story. You made some changes recently in the company. I mean, location and people and so on.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
So we made a big push. This started probably about a year ago. Rory, who's my son, who runs our production department, decided he wanted to move from Chicago to Branson, where Sonia and I had already moved. And that was going to require reloading the company. That ended up being probably one of the best things we've ever done. It ends up being a great advantage for us. We have lowered our cost of operations significantly here. And it's crazy things like rent we're 2/3 less on our rent here to have our warehouse and everything going. But the biggest advantage we have gotten that was totally unseen or unexpected is the labor pool we're able to tap into. There is a nice labor pool here in Illinois where we were at for about the past 5 or 6 years. Our most difficult thing was having a good labor pool to pull from. Most blue collar have left Illinois due to the high cost of living, property taxes and everything on your real estate. So we struggled. That was probably the one thing I did every month was look to hire new people and just couldn't do it. Coming down here We have a brand new crew. We've been able to hire technicians that have talent. They have experience, maybe not necessarily in what we do, but similar types of skills, which is great. We've been able to go back to our old motto, which is hire for attitude and train the rest. And we have some really great people working for us now. We're still growing here. I've had the benefits of working in the field with them. I haven't worked in the field in a long time, but there are days where, they need the extra hand and, well, I'm it. So yesterday was one of those. We worked in the field together and I'm enjoying it. They're a great group of people. The other big change came in June when we brought Lynn on. And, we have partnered with Lynn. She is our executive vice president of the handyman side. And she has had a dream, a vision, and a plan for our company and what it could do. And she hadn't had an opportunity to put that together. She's got 24 years of experience in the service industry. So we've talked, we sat down, we came up with a plan, and basically we've told her, we'll give you the tools you need to build what you want. And I have to say, in the 3 short months, it's been awesome. She has a clear plan, a clear vision, and it's working great. It's been a great decision for us.
That's outstanding. And for those of you that don't know, Lynn Harnishfigger is who Keith is referring to, very good friend of both of us for a very long time. And now that it's not only U.S. exterior, where they're working on the exteriors of buildings and rebuilding them and all the other things they did, now they're doing a lot of handyman work as well.
Exactly.
Helps a bunch.
Oh, yeah. And to that point, we're not doing the on-demand handiwork stuff. That we're going to leave to others. Lynn has taken us down a different path. We are doing specialty projects that FMs may have a problem getting done in the past. Quickest one that comes to mind is we have several flooring projects in Ohio. They all have custom flooring in them. Mm-hmm. The guys that installed them are not interested in coming back and doing little repairs. So our customer has had them available. He's been trying to get some of them fixed for over 12 months. So we said, let us look at it. Let us see what we can do. Well, we went out and found a strategic partner that this is their expertise of skill set. We brought them in with us and they're out doing the repairs and we're knocking them off one by one for them. So we take a little different approach. We're not doing on demand, but we'll take the problem children, the problem jobs that you got, and we'll go out and help you find a solution. We'll manage that solution for you and then, deliver on the results.
I think it's awesome because as a facility manager, to the point that you made of specialty projects, and that's what it is. And sometimes it's lower cost projects. Right. And what happens is a company will say, yeah, we'll do those for you. We'll do them. What happens is they keep pushing to the bottom because any big project that has a chance to make, good amount of money or whatever, that supplements. And then the small, we'll get to it stuff goes to the bottom. It's the same conversation I always had about contracting. New construction contractors should never do remodels. They shouldn't because they don't do them right. And they work during the day. Remodels are night work. It's a whole different animal. And it's just hard. And so they, construction guys are construction guys. That's not necessarily true. No. And then you end up using it and it just doesn't work. Same thing, a lot of companies are not good at, whether you call it handyman, special project, whatever you want to do. It's difficult for them. And either because of smaller scope or different scope, or they're looking for the big project and they don't do it right. The only time I ever found that to work, an older guy who owned a construction company years ago at Ruby said, I can be a great handyman company for your restaurants during November to January. Because none of my construction guys are working and I'm paying them. Yep. So if I'm paying them anyway, I can send them out and do your work and it will help at least recoup a little bit. But that's the only 3 months of the year that I could help you because the rest of the time I'm no good.
U.S. Exterior, and I was telling someone this story the other day. When we built U.S. Exterior 25 years ago, the plan was not to be what we are today, which we can tackle large exterior restoration jobs. But the plan was to go out and do $450 patches every day because there was a need for it. When I was at Stowe, I had a stack of papers on my desk of customers looking for that service. So, we were going to go out and tackle that world, and that has led into what we do. But we still do that $450 patch today. That's still part of our business because the one thing you realize, you do 5 $450 patches in a day, and you've made some good money for 2 guys in a vehicle. And we've been able to take that mentality and spread it out to the handyman side. Getting the technicians that we're working with, to understand, yes, we know you're going to charge us a little more for night work, but you're doing the flooring. We don't want people in the kitchen when we're doing the flooring. It makes it very difficult to get the cure time and get everything to happen. We need a few hours. So if we do it at night, that works and we get it done. That's just one example, but we do drive-throughs for several restaurants. They get hit by cars all the time. Mm-hmm. You can't shut down a customer drive-through to do the work. So we come in as soon as they shut it down. Sometimes it's really difficult because they may have a 24-hour drive-through. Right. We've been known to take one of our crew guys, have him stand between the drive-through window and the drive-through lane and pass money and food back and forth, but that's what we had to do to satisfy what the customer needs because we can't shut them down.
Sure. Absolutely. Talk a little bit, Keith, about customer relationship, how important that is, what you look for, what do you want in a good partnership with a customer?
Well, you just hit the key word. We're looking for a partnership. We want them to view us as an extension of them. The customers, they're the lifeblood of all of our organizations, and we work really hard to keep that going. And just like I said, with our employees, we hire for attitude because that's the frontline person out there dealing with our customer. And an FM has a customer, and that's his restaurant. And we acknowledge that. We understand that. So we're out there working as hard as we can to make for sure that the FM's customer is happy, because if they're happy, then the FM's happy. And that comes through to us. So we're working really hard on that partnership that we have with them. And that comes down to communication. Maybe sometimes we over communicate, but we want everyone to know. We're in all the service platforms out there, and, we use them to communicate back and forth with everyone. We also use emails. Cell phones, everything that everyone would. We run into a problem, we're going to reach out to you. And there's sometimes in the middle of the night, we got to punt. We don't have the ability to talk to someone right away. So we're going to punt, make the best decision we can, come back to them in the morning and say, here's what we had to do. Hope this works.
Here's why. Here's what we had to do.
And exactly. We give them the why. We document the why. Here's the photographs. Here's what we ran into. Here's what we did.
You have to. Yep. I mean, the why, and many times in conversations, the why is not explained as it needs to be, and it should be. Because that's, I always understood, hey, things happen. I get it. Just tell me why. Because somebody's going to ask me why, and I need the answer.
Exactly. You're doing a repair. You may not know that the support framing on the inside of the wall was as bad as it was. Maybe they had a previous leak and it's totally gone. Doesn't make sense to close that wall up and not take care of it. So we're going to take care of it. We're going to go ahead and put in the new framing and everything, and we're going to show you what we dealt with. But at the end, we want to give you a project that you're happy with. That also comes down to our customers have to trust us. So, we work very hard to get that trust aspect. We want the partnership program. We want both of us to develop the best standards for you and your organization to work with us. It is truly a team.
Is part of your program with new customers and so on, face to face, over the phone, doesn't really matter how you do it, but really kind of get an understanding. First and foremost is tell them what you're about.
Yep.
And then the second part is you're asking them as well, I'm assuming, what do you want? What are you looking for? What's, I call it non-negotiables. We've talked about it many times, but what are the rules and what are the expectations for both sides? I got to have it from you and you got to
Yep.
have it from me.
Yeah, we set those expectations and we discuss those and we work on those. And, we try to carry them through because every client, it seems like for every client anymore, we're developing a customized work order, if you will, for what we're handling in the field and what we're doing. And in there, we try to communicate as much of that as we can.
You have to, and that helps because so many times you've heard of other people, they'll talk about it, and what will happen is like, I never knew that.
Right.
Until I had to pay for it or I heard about it or whatever, but like that was never discussed that this was something or whatever it may be. So I think, those conversations, I know you have them with customers as you bring them in, is what are you about? What's your company about? What matters to you? And then here's what matters to me, because what you need from them is just as important.
Yeah. And it goes back to a little bit what we were saying. We want to deliver a quality end product to you. And because we don't always work during the day, I've got to know your parameters. What are you going to give me leeway on? If we're talking, let's say it's a $2,000 job and I get into an extra $300 in framing. Is that going to be a deal killer for you? Are you going to want me to go ahead and proceed? And those, just like you said, these are conversations we're having up front. And then once you get a couple of projects under your belt, you have a better idea for both sides. And, part of this is discussing the project after the fact. Even if it went good, you're still having these conversations of going, okay, here was the good, here was the bad. We had a little difficulty with this. How can we overcome it next time? And again, that's where the partnership comes in.
Well, and you're also helping, I'm sure, during the conversations, you mentioned an extra $300 for frame. Okay, I can stop. I can. And wait to get a $300 approval from you the next day or whatever. But then I've got to resend my crew and maybe it's an extra night. And now all of a sudden it's going to cost you $800 to fix 300. I mean, you're explaining part of the options. I'm not trying to ask for 2,000, spend 10. But what I am saying is if you have a $500 lenient area or whatever that may be, give me that and let me explain to you why that's actually going to help you out. And you have to trust me. I'm not using it if I don't need it.
Exactly.
But if I have to do it the other way, stop at $19.99 and wait for approval, it's going to cost you more money.
Exactly. And those are the things that we really do work hard in covering up front. Because a lot of what we do, it's not on demand. They're project-based stuff. And, some are the lower project dollar amounts, but these are the things that we're discussing up front.
Sure. You and I have both been heavily involved in RIFMA for many years. What's the driving force in that for you?
RIFMA is an organization for us. One, I always say you get what you give out of it. So yes, personally, I have been involved because one, I think it's an excellent organization that educates our industry, an industry that we work very heavily in, which is, the restaurant world. It helps take new FMs that may not have a lot of experience and give them an education source and get them brought into the industry. It also does that for vendors. You can take a young vendor that's entering, or not just a young vendor, any vendor entering our industry, and they can go to conference and they can attend those courses and they can start to learn what's important to the restaurant side of the world. And that comes back and it reflects into, your business as well. So really the education arm. And I think, John, you had John Cantonese on the other day, and he said, one of the things he said is because it supports our industry and what's good for the industry is good for us. And there couldn't be a truer statement. And I think, you see it in John's company. They've invested heavily in RIFMA over the years, and not just with sponsorships, but having their employees there, having them be active in the committees and everything like that. And that's the value we've seen. And the ability to share some of the knowledge I have, when it comes to drive-it stucco and masonry and those exterior type of items, we've become a industry expert, if you will, on those items, subject expert, and we can relay that to FMs. We can relay that to others that need hey, I've got this on my building. I'm getting these cracks. What's happening? Well, let us help educate and show. And it goes back to even our culture, like I was saying earlier, for us, we'll hire for attitude and train the rest.
Get it done. I've said many times, and I said, good. Ripma was like Google for me.
Oh, yeah.
It's my Google. I'm not looking up. If you walk to me, you said, my name's Keith Moore and I'm U.S. Exterior and I'd like to do your business, Danny. Okay. I don't say, let's meet in my office and you do a dog and pony. I don't do any of that. Who you work for, Keith? Who's here at the show that you work for? And okay, good. I'll go talk to them, and that's it. And I would go to a competitor and say, hey, I just met this guy named Keith Moore. Does he work for you? Yeah. Da, 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 da. Yeah. Okay, great. It's what I need. Because if it's working for my competitor, there's a really good chance it'll work for me, and I don't have to do the other stuff.
Exactly. And I think it's been really good for those introductions. And that's how you and I met. You and I have known each other for years. It took 10 years of us knowing each other before an opportunity came for us to work together.
Sure. Absolutely.
And, the relationships that you build go through. And, it's the other side. It's, hey, Danny, I've got an issue with how, whatever the system is. Can you help us? What have you done when you've ran into it in the past when you had all your restaurants? What did you do? What was a system that worked for you? So it gives you the reverse ability to go out and reach out to people that you trust as well. And it helps in so many levels.
Well, and I'll give you a quick example of that. We did it when we worked for when I was working for a previous company prior to COVID, and they were looking to take some restaurants that they owned and wanted to upgrade their look. Yep. And they had sat in a room and they looked at pictures and they'd done all that and it wasn't moving. I said, I got to coin the phrase, I got a guy. Let's do this. And so I called you and I said, hey, here's the deal. Here's what we need to do. You need to fly in. You need to go with me, go with the owners and so on. And we got to get it off the dime because it's just, we're talking, we're not moving. And so you came in, we went location by location. We went all the way through them. It's not only color, but here's the state of the existing building. Here's what we're going to need to do, all these things. And then came back with, okay, here's the plan. And here's what the building will look like. This will tie into the new sign you're going to buy and this, and here it is. And here's what it cost. And then we did it, Yeah. And so it's just an opportunity there when it opens up, or the other way, hey, Danny, I got a brand new young facility person I'm working with. They need a little guidance. Can you call them and spend 30 minutes on the phone helping them, so it goes both ways.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Who are your mentors?
Long list of good people. I go back to what we were talking about from last year conference. Mentors for me started when I first entered the industry. The first one was a gentleman by the name of Bill Ingram. He was my very first real boss in life. And, I got to ride with him. He taught me a lot of the construction industry. He taught me a lot of the ins and outs, how to work with contractors. And then next in line came a gentleman by the name of Bill Furs, 2 Bills back to back. And he taught me how to work in the office environment and how to get all of, that unique dynamic, right? And he was really good at that. And then along came, when I decided to go out on my own, became Sam Cicero. And Sam, when I met him, had been a contractor for 31 years. And I had so many questions. I had never been a contractor, ever. Didn't know what I didn't know. But I would run into things and I could go sit in Sam's office and he'd be like, well, if it were me, here's how I'd address it. Never tell me how to do it, but here's how I would address it. And I respected that a lot. And then as we fast forward in today, to be honest, Danny, guys like you've been a great mentor over the years in the whole restaurant, facilities world. But beyond that, you've been really good at just being a good friend with good advice.
Very kind. Very kind. But I think, can I ask everybody that I ever do a podcast with about mentors, because it's so important, of those people who early in your career, middle of your career, end of your career. I mean, there are just people that make a huge difference.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And, even beyond just mentors, you can take someone like Debbie Kinsel. She's always there if you got it, hey, I just need to talk this through with someone. And you can pick up the phone and call her. She's gonna listen, and she's gonna give you her thoughts. And you start adding all these people together, and the next thing you know, you can have a plan. Or you can feel better about your decision when you've had the ability to reach out. So
exactly.
it is really, I've been blessed in a lot of ways.
Speaking of success, give me a success story for you and your company, something you're really proud of.
This coming November, hitting 25 years. You start out, I don't think you ever see the road 25 years down the road, where you're going to be, what you're going to be doing. And here we're tapping on 25 years. I'm very proud of, the fact that Lynn has joined us, and that she's running the handyman side, and that's growing. And, at 25 years, who would have thought you're going to pick up your company and move it halfway across the country almost? And, you do that. We've got the second generation, Rory. Yes, he's worked for us for 15 years, but he's working on what's next for him within the company and how he's going to move into operations. So, I mean, the fact that we've made it 25 years and and I sit back and I look, and, for us, thank God for family, because they've definitely made it. Nobody really sees Sonia in the background, but she handles all the finances for this group. And, to not have to worry about someone handling your finances and everything that happens there, and keeps you on the straight and narrow. And then you've got Rory in production, and then all the employees that have helped us get where we are today. And then couldn't have done it without our customers.
Sure.
And to me, that in and of itself represents our company, those components. And I'd love to say the success is with me, but it's with everyone. And I think that's the story we have to tell. When you look at, 80% of all businesses fail in the first 5 years. And well, now we're hitting the 25-year mark. And
that's incredible.
That is really starting to hit home with me, that it's a quarter of a century, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of gray hair.
I understand. That's incredible. And I think the other thing too, and you touched on this, and you spoke about family. You have Rory and you have Sonia, and you have family, and it works out great. Family can be very difficult to run a business with as well. There are certain pieces of that are difficult.
Very.
That you have to manage through as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And, that as Rory and I have gotten older and more maturity, it's funny, even the way we work with each other has changed a lot over the years, to put the father-son relationship aside every once in a while and say, okay, we have to talk about this as us, as a company, put our feelings aside, and this is what we're going to talk about and how we're going to deal with it. Those are some of the unique things that come with having a family business. You sit down to Sunday dinner, we have to learn to leave business at work some days, and we're going to sit here and enjoy this as a family this week, and it's a challenge for all three of us when we're sitting at the table sometimes to do that.
It's a different work-life balance, and some people talk about how many hours I work or I don't, but it's a balancing act.
It really
is. Family and business at the same time. Exactly.
And it's not uncommon for one of us, and it could be any one of us three, to look at the other ones and go, enough. Today's family. We'll talk about that tomorrow morning at the office. And, but we do have to remind ourselves.
It's very easy to go the other way. My last question. One thing you wish your clients were more familiar with, say on the restaurant side, than they are. If there was just one thing that you could put in everybody's brain and they got it, what would it be?
We're here to help solve problems. We're not here's a box, they're a contractor and they fit in that box. That's not us. We're here to solve problems. That's what we love to do. That's what we bring to the table for a lot of our clients, is we want to be able to solve your problem. U.S. Exterior has been built on exterior restoration. The building's leaked, somebody's hit it. We have an issue to deal with. How do we fix it? How do we put it back together? the handyman side, we're bringing that same mentality to that as well. So if you've got something you've been struggling with, and it's not fitting in, you're not putting a round peg in a square hole day after day, and you need somebody that can help you with it and come up with a program, let us do it. We're happy to help. I mean, we self-perform a lot of work, but then again, we have strategic partners on the other side because we're not the flooring expert. So we go out and we find a subject expert. How do we do this for our client? How do we get this done? And we bring that subject expert with us. Now, if the job's big enough, we can put them and have put them on payroll for a while for them to work the project. So, we're a little bit of a hybrid in that way, because we may take a person that, they may have their own company, but we're going to bring them on to our payroll and help and get this done. So we can self-perform in a lot of different ways that are unique, if you will.
Great. Well, I certainly appreciate the time. A lot of great information. It'd be great celebrating 25 years with the company. And I want to tag on something we were talking about, mentoring and so on. And you mentioned you and I want to speak about that for just a second, going the other way. For a lot of people, think about this. In your life, you've got to have what I call a no guy. Got to have a no. And what that is a person that when you ask them something, they're going to tell you the truth. And if they disagree or they think you are going down the wrong path for whatever reason, they tell you. There is no shake your head yes because I'm your friend, so everything you ever say is right. That's not what they do. They're the no guy. And they go, no, you're wrong. And here's why I think you're wrong, and we're going to talk about it. Or I know you're stubborn, but you need to do this. That's what you are for me and have been for years. And that's a different kind of mentorship. But you're that person that when I ask or I complain or I discuss, if you don't see it as I do, which you don't sometimes, many times, you tell me.
Yep.
Doesn't mean I'm wrong and you're right. Doesn't mean you're right, wrong. That's not it. It's if I want you to make the best decision, so I'm going to give you my input. And I call that a no guy. You got to have a no guy. You got to have that one person, no matter what it is, you can go to and talk to and know that you're getting honesty, transparency. They're a friend. They want you to make the right call, and they're going to do everything they can to give you all that. They're going to listen first, but they're going to give you information to help guide you in the way they think the decision should be made. And then you have a choice. But if you're a facility person, a vendor, whoever you are out here, and you don't have a no guy, go get one because you need them. That's who you got to have. That's what you've done for me for a very long time, and I'm very thankful for it.
Well, I've been thankful for your mentorship over the years too, and I think you know that. And the mentorship has turned into a very good friendship.
Absolutely, for a very long time.
Yep.
Folks, that's our episode today. I thank Keith again for taking the time to spend it with us, and it will be up on our podcast soon. Be sure and listen, and join us again next week for another podcast from Windy City. Thank you.